there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Crafty Kathy, and this is one of my pooches, Miss Roxy Renee, and we are so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with us today. At the beginning of a year, I always like to look back and take some of my top DIYs from the past season and put those all together for you guys. And that's what this video is. It's a compilation of my personal favorite Dollar Tree DIYs over the past season. And we hope that you enjoy it, and let's jump in.
For the first DIY, we're only going to need one of these wood pallets. Now, these, of course, like I said, are from the Dollar Tree. On the back, they just say wood pallet. And we're also going to use 2 of these wooden hoops. But keep in mind, you have options. It doesn't have to be these wooden hoops. You can use those metal type hoops from the Dollar Tree. There's several different types that you can use. The ones I have say wooden wreath base, and I did find them where all the metal wreath accessories are. So, let's get started. I'm going to use my gel stain by Dixie Belle. It's called Tobacco Road. Now, you can use any type of like the Waverly Antique Wax, whatever you want or whatever you have. Or you can even make up your own stain by just doing brown paint with a little bit of water. The reason why I chose to use this one is because I wanted a dark color, and this is probably the darkest stain that I do have. All I'm doing here is just applying it, and I'm using a paper towel just to kind of wipe off the excess. And I'm also going to go over my 2 hoops. Now, you'll notice that they're already dark brown, but I just lightly went over them real quick just so that my items would match up. When I went on with this next step, my hoops weren't totally dry. They're made from that MDF, and so it takes them a little bit longer to dry. Now, what you're going to do is place them side by side. You're going to stick a tie wrap or a zip tie, whichever you call it, through here, but don't pull it together tightly yet. Now, what we're going to do is take our little wood pallet, and we're going to place this down on the bottom. And you need to see how far out those hoops need to go so that it will line up exactly with your little pallet board. And when you see exactly how far that is, then you can tighten this up. Now, it's all personal preference, but you may want your little pallet board to go upside down in this manner, which it looks okay, but I personally liked mine the other way. So when you find that perfect placement and you tighten up your hoops, you're going to move on to your next step, and that's going to be to grab your wood glue. And I'm just using the kind from Dollar Tree. I really do like this. I normally use the Type Bond Quick and Thick, but to me, this is just as good, and it's a lot cheaper. So what we're going to do is just put one, like a little bit of glue on the 4 corners, and we're going to just lay that right on the top of our little hoops. Now, on the wood pallet where we added the glue, it will barely touch those hoops. There's not a lot of space there for it to touch because the way that it lays, but it will touch. Now, just to make sure that it's extra secure, I squirted just a little bit of hot glue under each of my corners, and it was literally like a tiny little dot of hot glue, but I found that it was sufficient enough to hold it. And as you're putting your glue on here and adding your hot glue, don't worry, this thing will kind of wobble off from where you had it, and you're like, this is not going to stick. But trust me, when that wood glue dries, it will stick, and it will be plenty enough to hold it. The very last step that we're going to do is take some twine, any type that you have or whatever you prefer. I'm just using the Dollar Tree twine, and we're going to wrap it around the top. I start off by adding a little strip of glue, and then I just start wounding my twine. There's no certain way you have to do this. You can put as much or as little as you want. It's all personal preference. And I just used that little bit of glue when I started winding, and then when I was finished, I put another little strip of glue to hold it and then just cut off the excess. When I finished getting my twine around the top, I did take a lighter and burn off all the little stringies that come off of the jute twine. And I did take different video clips. One is hanging up on the porch of my craft studio, and the other one is inside on the tabletop. For DIY number 2, we're going to be using 2 of the pallet boards, and then we're also going to be using 2 of these little plant swings. They're actually called wall shelf that comes from Dollar Tree. There is a bigger version, which this one's the bigger version, and a smaller version. We're going to take our little pallet board and we are going to flip it around. We're going to put the wood glue on this bottom portion, the little piece that goes horizontal, and I just rubbed mine in with my finger. I felt that it held it better. And we're simply going to take our little plant hanger shelf and we're going to set it right on top of that in the middle. Now it'll stay there while you grab your other pallet board, and you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to put the wood glue on that little bottom portion there that's going horizontal. You're going to rub that in, and then you're going to stick this on the other side of your little plant hanger. And what we're doing is creating a little shelf. Now, I can't take credit for this. I saw something very similar from my buddy Brandy over at the DIY Struggle. I'm going to leave her channel down below and the video that she did this in. I think she used different boards, but I'm a plant girl. I have so many plants. And for the longest time, I've had these little hanging plant swings, or I guess that's what you would call them. And I've been wanting to do something with them besides just sticking the rope through it and hanging it up. And I thought, now this is a great way to utilize these, and it's really cheap, and I can put my plants on it. So we do that at the bottom, and we're going to do that exact same thing at the top. I'm going to add my glue to the parts that goes horizontal. I'm going to rub it in, and then I'm just going to take that other shelf and set it down there. Now, I left mine alone overnight. I did not touch it. That way it would be really nice and dry, and I could not believe how sturdy this little sucker was the next morning. I actually filmed a little clip of the next morning to show you just how sturdy this thing is. Like, it's not going anywhere. I'm going to paint this the color called Bavarian by Folk Art Home Decor. Now, my paint has not been used in literally about 2 years. So it was really thick, and the way that you remedy that is just to add some water, stir it up real good, and shake it. I want my shelf to be distressed and look really rustic. I don't want an all-over perfect coat. And the way that I achieve this is by going kind of heavy in the middle, and as I get to the outer sections, I just kind of briefly brush over it. That way some of that beautiful natural wood kind of shines through, and it really just gives it that all-over rustic look. And since my paint was so thick, I just squirted my piece down with a little bit of water as I was brushing over it. I love to use this technique to get that old vintagey look without having to go back and sanding off some of the paint. I'm going to use one of the IOD paint inlays. This one is the Petite Fleur Pink, but they also have the Petite Fleur in the color red. Now these paint inlays are super easy to use. I remember being so nervous the first time that I ever used one, and I hear so many people say that they're afraid to try them. But don't be afraid to try anything. These turn out beautiful every time, I promise you. What you do is you just go through, cut out the pieces that you want, and then I'm going to show you how to place them on here. The paint inlays are actually paint, and you're just like reactivating that paint. You can do it in different ways. I'm going to use my big top sealer, but you can also do it in paint. Now you go ahead and paint your project whatever color you want it. I did the Bavarian color, and then you're either going to use one more coat of the color Bavarian, or like I did here, use the big top sealer. Now I put way too much sealer. You don't need that much, but you don't want a super thin coat either because you want it to be wet so that it will reactivate that paint. I took half of that load of sealer that I used and put some of it down on the bottom so we can use it there too. Now what you're going to do is pick up the piece of inlay that you want to put down. You're going to spray it with a misting bottle, and you're just going to place it down where you want it to go. Then you just simply use your fingers, and I always start out from the middle and kind of work your way around the piece to make sure you've got a good connection, and then you just squirt it one more time on the top. That water is going to reactivate that paint and get it to adhere to your piece. You're going to leave it alone and let it dry there. Now they say that when you're using a sealer like I did, you don't want to let it 100% dry. I'm just going to go through here and place down all the rest of my paint inlays. I'm going to do them the exact same way I did that first one. And I am so sorry if you guys can hear my pug snoring in the background because he's at my feet and he's loud. And while I've got a second here, I just want to welcome you and thank you so much for stopping by my channel and spending a little time to chat and craft with me today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to do so. We always have room for more, and we always just chat and craft and have a good old time together. And if you are enjoying this content so far, I would love it if you would hit the like button because that really helps me out on YouTube. Also, when you leave me a comment. If you don't really like leaving a comment, you can always just leave me a heart emoji. That'll help me out too. And I thank you guys so much for every like, every subscribe, and every heart emoji that you send me. And I love for my new subscribers to say hello in the comment section. Now, I am a very impatient crafter, and I don't let mine air dry. I always use my heat gun, and what I do is you just mist it again so it will be wet and easy to peel up, and I very slowly peel away the edges. I start off on one edge just to see if it's coming up yet. Now this is literally right after I put this down and then I dried it with my little heat gun, and I didn't feel like it was ready yet, so I placed it back down and I squirted it again to get that paint reactivated. I kind of rubbed it back in with my finger, and then I'm going to take that heat gun right away and dry it again. Now I get it when it's about 90% of the way dry because I did put it in the sealer. So when I get to that point where I feel like it's dry enough, I'm going to grab my little misting water bottle again. I'm going to mist it, and then I'm going to very slowly pull my piece up. Now, I'm not going for perfection here. I love the way these paint inlays look because they already look like they're distressed and like you've used a little bit of sandpaper on them. They're just gorgeous, and they come out beautiful every time. And see, there's really nothing to be afraid of. They're honestly one of the easiest things once you get used to how to do them. I'm going to take the other one here because it just kind of air dried. But when I pulled it down, the very end part didn't appear to have done enough yet. So I just laid it back down and I'm going to move on to the other. You see, I just missed it and kind of pull it up. And I'm not really looking for perfection here. I want it to look rustic and I want it to look like somebody has already sanded it. So I just went ahead and went with what I had there. Now, of course, that's all personal preference. The longer you leave it on there and let it get a good hold, the better it's going to do. And you can use these paint inlays up to 3 times, but just know that each time they get a little more like distressed looking, if you will, because there's less paint on there. But they say you can use them up to 3. I've even heard of people using them 4 times. I usually only use mine about 2 times each, and that's it. Then last minute, I decided to go ahead and put just a small something on the side here, just because I felt like it was kind of naked. So I did the same thing, added a little bit of the sealer, the big top sealer, and I placed my little piece down. I wet it with my mister. Then I flipped it over and did the exact same design on the opposite side. I only let the 2 pieces on the side dry maybe to a 50% consistency because I wanted them to look really rustic and like they had really been sanded and distressed. And I think this one turned out to be a gorgeous little plant stand.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flat.
I'm going to use one of these larger round mirrors. They have 2 sizes of these. There's a larger one, which is this one, and one that's a little bit smaller. Now, I'm going to take the back off of this. It's like a picture hanger on the back. You just flip the little things around and pop it out. This just makes it a whole lot easier while I'm filming my video, because if I leave the mirror in, it's really going to hurt your eyes, and I don't want to do that. Now, we're only going to be using this outer portion for this DIY, but remember, save that piece of the mirror because you can use it for something else later. Now we have some choices. You can use one of these chargers from the Dollar Tree, or you can use a pizza pan from the Dollar Tree. But I had purchased a tray from the thrift store, and I only paid $1 for this. It's got a ship on the front of it, which we're going to cover that portion up, but I really like the things that's on the outer portion of it. It's so ornate and pretty, and so that's what we're going to use. I wanted to show you here, there's a few different ways that you could style this. You can use your charger. You could even flip your charger around. And like I said, you could use a pizza pan if you want something a little bigger. I'm going to take my 2 pieces that I'm using outside and give them a good coat of my white spray paint. While my pieces are outside drying in the sun, I'm going to take this beautiful canvas. I found this at the Dollar Tree the other day. It just says wall art on the back. You know, they have a lot of different canvases there, and some of them are really nice. I'm just going to open this up, and what I'm going to do is pop that little sawtooth hanger off the back and save that because those things are gold. Those are my favorite way to hang anything up. It makes everything easy. And I'm just going to take this canvas off. The easiest way that I have ever found to do these canvases is to use my X-Acto knife and just cut around it and pull the front of it off. I'm going to tell you what, me and this canvas had a battle, but I won in the end, and this is what it looks like when we get everything cut apart. I'm going to take the backing of my little mirror, that little piece of hard cardboard, and I'm just going to lay it down over the portion of this that I'm going to cut out. I'm going to make sure that it's going to look centered and look really nice. And I'm just going to use a Sharpie. I have like a thin Sharpie for stuff like this that I like to use. I'm just going to go around it so I'll know where to cut at, and I'm going to cut that sucker out. I found that when you're cutting pieces out, it's so much easier to hold your scissors still and move the piece of whatever you're cutting around, because it just makes it faster. I promise you it does. And it took me years to learn this because I was always in the habit of doing it the opposite. And I want to take just a moment to welcome each and every one of y'all here. I am so glad that you're here with me today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to consider subscribing and becoming a part of our family. We always have room for more, and we would love to have you. We just chat and craft and have a good old time. I didn't really have to do this step, but I felt like I might need to put a little bit of something on this so that it'll have a little bit of a stick. And I just chose my glue stick, my regular old glue stick. If you know me and you watch my videos, my favorite way to decoupage anything is with a glue stick if I can. Now these canvases are a little bit thicker, and if you're worried that it may not stick very well, you can use Mod Podge. That would be a great thing to get this to stick. But in all honesty, after I did this craft, I was kind of wondering if I needed to do this at all, because it stayed in the frame and it didn't go anywhere. And if you're anything like me, I take my crafting time very serious. As much stuff as I can get done in as little a time and the easiest and quickest way, that's exactly what I do. And so I try to share that with you guys. Now I'm just going to pop this right back in my frame and smooth it out in the front. Now we're going to work on that beautiful white tray that has been freshly spray painted. I started off by adding 4 tumbling tower blocks down, and I'm going to place my little piece right in the middle, but I found that my tray had a deep enough dip that just one tumbling tower block wasn't enough to stick up and grab a hold of my little picture. So what I'm going to do is just add one more tumbling tower block on the top of my first ones, and it just popped out from my tray enough to where it's going to hold my picture down beautifully. And I like the way this looks. It gives it a nice 3D effect. I was going to use some of that Fix-All adhesive from the Dollar Tree, but I found that the hot glue was sufficient enough for this project, and it held my picture on just fine. Now for the fun part. We're going to embellish this. I'm going to use my wax paste, and you guys know that I love this stuff. I love this bronze color. It's my favorite. However, I have silver, white, red, and this dark color is a brownish color. And then, of course, I also have gold. I get these from a store called Milton's Daughter. I'll leave her information in the comment section and in the description down below, so it's easy to find in case you want to get some of this. Now to me, this stuff is just as good as Rub and Buff. It's actually just cheaper, but I love this stuff, and my favorite way to apply it, of course, is with my finger. My favorite color is this bronze color because it's kind of like a bronzy gold, and I just love the hue of it. It looks good with every color that I've ever added it to. So what I'm doing is just going around. I started off with the picture itself and just used the tip of my finger to add it on any place where I think it would look good. But the fun part is putting it on this beautiful embossed pattern. When you just rub your finger across it, it really brings it to life. And I always start off with just like, I start off lighter, and then if I like the way it looks, I add more. And this is all just personal preference. You just keep adding it until you're satisfied with the way it looks. Now, I like a lot of it, but you might be a person that doesn't like much of it at all. But I think that this really brings your piece to life right before your eyes. Now, when you look at this piece of decor, You would never think that it only cost you a total of $3.50 and that most of the pieces came from the Dollar Tree. I hope you like it.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
With DIY number 2, I'm going to start out using 2 of these mirrors that have like a cathedral type look. Now, for video purposes, I'm going to take the mirrors out of these. However, when I use them in my decor, I am going to use the mirror. It's just it absolutely blinds you when you're trying to video it, and it always drives me crazy. So these were really easy to get the backs off. I have one of those little eyeglass kits from the Dollar Tree, and it has like tiny screwdrivers in there, and each one had 5 little screws in there, and I just took it apart. Next, I'm going to grab 2 of these little wood pieces, and of course these are from the Dollar Tree also. Now, they have various types of different wood pieces. I like these because these were thin, and they had an unusual shape, which I liked. So what I'm going to do with these is I am literally going to use my wood glue. You can also use like that Fix-All adhesive or an E6000, just a permanent glue. And I'm going to place my wood glue across the bottom of my little cathedral window. And then I'm going to flip it over and set it on the top of the piece of wood. Now, I used my fingers because it's an uneven area in the back. It's like squiggly. So I used my fingers to make sure that it was like square and even. And I did this to both of my little cathedral windows, and I set them to the side and absolutely left them alone for about 4 hours. And this part might not even be necessary, but I went ahead and put a couple of screws through the bottom just to make sure that I had a really good hold on there. I styled this, one of them sitting down and one of them hanging up, so you could see what it looks like both ways, and you can use it with or without the mirror inside. This third DIY is probably my favorite. Well, I don't know. I like the first one a lot, but this one's right up there with that one. We're going to use these 3 ornate looking mirror, and these are the older style that they had back a while ago, and I wanted just to share with you a different way of using these. I'm going to take them outside, and I'm going to spray paint the whole thing white with my Rust-Oleum 2 times. Now, when you spray paint these white, and I spray painted the mirror too, by the way, they turn out so beautiful. What I'm going to put on these is going to be stickers that I get from Temu. I love these stickers. They're like vintage, and they have like beautiful vintage women on them and typography. Now, you guys are going to laugh at me, but I have decor up in my chicken house for Loretta, my prized lady. And she loves vintage decor like her mama. And so these are actually going in the hen house. And don't laugh at me. I have pictures of roosters up in there. We call it play rooster, like she's looking at like magazines of dirty magazines of roosters. I know that's terrible. It's crazy. But anyways, it's an inside joke. It's funny. I decorate her house because she's gorgeous and perfect, and she deserves to have a beautiful home just like we do, right? That was probably TMI, but I like for you guys to know what's going on in my neck of the woods. And guys, that's what's going on in my neck of the woods. All I'm going to do is just peel the backs off of each one of these stickers and place one on the center of each of my little ornate frames. I like to use these as frames and things in that nature instead of just using the mirror, because the mirror isn't always the best quality. I love to use these as frames because they all have such beautiful shapes. Now we're going to finish this off with my favorite antiquing paste, and I'm using the bronze color again. Like I said, I always start out small, and if I like it, I go ahead and add more. First, I just went around the circular part of the frame, and then I kind of made almost just like a little mark around like where the sticker is and kind of rubbed it in. And on this first one, I went all the way around the outside portion here, and I placed a pretty good amount of the antiquing paste. But when I stepped back and looked at that, I didn't really like it too much. Now, I did go ahead and add around that whole part of the picture here, like more of the antiquing paste because I liked it. But I just didn't like the way that that first one looked with that added to the very outer corner of it. You can see the difference in the one that I like and the one here that has it added to that outer corner. But it's such an easy fix. If you mess up with this antique paste, you just go back and add your original paint that you first started with. And I hope you like this one.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired.
The last one is more of a hack than a DIY. We're just going to take another one of these round ones, and again, I leave it turned around for the sake of it not, hurting your eyes. What I'm going to do is grab some of this potpourri, and of course, this came from the Dollar Tree also. We're going to make like a little tray or like a little stand of sorts. I'm just going to use these little Christmas trees that come out at around Christmas time. And I like to grab a whole bunch of these and the snowman and the other little shapes that they have at Dollar Tree, because you can use these for feet on your risers and that type thing. Now, I just put hot glue on that, and it was plenty sufficient to hold on to there. I'm going to grab 3 of these little like votive, like little candle holder things, and they're from the Dollar Tree also. I'm going to flip this over and cover it with some of the potpourri, and then I'm going to add my 3 little candle holders inside in the middle, and then you just kind of play around with it, put the potpourri however you would like it to go, and then I'm simply going to add 3 little tea light candles to the inside of my little candle holders, and that's all there was to this. I told you this was super simple and easy, and I hope you like it. You're going to need 4 of the large size boxes, and I'm going to show you on the back of these, the little tag just says wood box, and all 4 of these are going to be the larger ones. So what we're going to do is just glue these together, glue 2 of the boxes, and just try to find the most even sides. You know, Dollar Tree is notorious for not having the most square sides. So I just found where they were the most even, and I put them together like so with hot glue. And I'm just going to take my little Dollar Tree clamps and clamp them so that they'll be nice and even. I set those to the side so that they can stay in those clamps for a few minutes, and I'm going to use these wood planks. These are the ones that come 6 in a pack, and they're the longer rectangle shape ones, and we're only going to need 4 of these. I'm just going to take the edges of these and put a little bit of hot glue, like a little bead, all the way down through there, and just glue them together side by side, and we're going to do that with all 4 of these. I want to welcome you to my channel if this is the first time you've ever been here, and if this is the millionth time you've ever been here, welcome also. I am so glad and thankful that each and every one of y'all stopped in here. I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We would love to have you as part of our family, and we always have room for more. And please leave me a comment. Let me know which of these DIYs is your favorite. And if you would, hit the like button, because that really helps support my channel on YouTube. So now these aren't going to stay together with just this little bit of hot glue down the sides. So what I did was grab some of those large popsicle sticks that you get from Walmart. They're only, I think, $2 or $3, but mine last for a really long time, and they're good for projects like these. I'm just going to put hot glue down them, and I'm going to slap a couple of those on there. It's going to give us that extra support we need. Now what we're going to do is take and glue our pieces together exactly like I have them here. I'm using hot glue for video purposes, but if you really want this to hold up for a good long while, I suggest that you use some good wood glue. I like to use the Type Bond Quick and Thick, but I've heard from a lot of people that that wood glue from Dollar Tree is excellent and it dries really fast. I keep meaning to pick it up and I forget every time. Now you know as well as I do that that's not going to hold up. That little old tiny bead of hot glue is not going to hold this whole piece together. So I'm going to add some more popsicle sticks here just for that extra support. And I did have to stand my piece up just so that you could see it good and I could get a better hold on what I was doing here. So I just take these smaller popsicle sticks that I have, and I just placed a couple of those on each side. I did have to cut a few little pieces down to make it fit right, and I'll be the first to tell you, if you look at this from the back, it's not pretty, okay? But we want it to hold up, and if somebody flips this around and looks at it at your house, you might need to question if they need to be there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about you, but here in the South, we have those nosy old relatives that want to come over and flip your stuff around and look at it and just touch it and go on. And I'm like, oh my goodness, do they do this everywhere in the world, or is it just in the South? I don't know, but let's move on. So I'm going to take this Dollar Tree mirror, and the only one I had was this simple round one. But just imagine you can use those beautiful ornate ones that they have that have the really pretty shapes to them and stuff. And the possibilities are endless here. I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on each side, and this fits right on each side perfectly. It just lays right on the top. And yes, I did just use hot glue to put it together, but I would still use a E6000 or a really good wood glue if you want this to hold up for a good long while. Now we're going to stain this, and I'm going to use the Waverly Antique Wax. And those of you that watch my videos often know that I only have probably about 25% of the actual wax in my bottle, and the rest of it, 75%, is probably water, because I like mine really watered down. I like the look of it, and it's all just personal preference, however you like yours. But I just let everybody know each time, because normally it's not this light of a color. It's just that mine's really watered down. And the reason why I didn't put the wax down before I put it all together is because it's always best for wood to stick to wood. And if you put down like the antique wax, it's going to be harder for it to stick. You're going to get less of a good stick, even with hot glue or whatever you use. It's just not going to stick as good. So anytime that I'm working with wood products, I like to go ahead and put them together and then put my wax on. And you can see here, I'm just being nonchalant and just literally just slapping it on there. And then I just use that baby wipe to kind of wipe off the excess and just kind of even out the color tone a little bit. And I went over this whole piece and put the wax over every little nook and cranny. I guess this Waverly Antique Wax is my favorite of all the waxes. I just love the color, and it's like it always evens out, and it's always beautiful, whether you put it on dark or you put it on a lighter. It just always turns out perfect every single time. Once I got it all applied and wiped down, I ran over it with my heat gun just where it would be about 75% of the way dry, and then we're going to move on to our next step. I got these little drawer like label filing cabinet looking things off of Amazon. I'll leave them in the link in the comments below in case you want to grab some. And I'm just simply going to put 2 of these down on the bottom, and I flipped them upside down purposely. That way my daughter could hang her necklaces on them. And I grabbed 2 very small pieces of my vinyl, and I'm just going to cut that out where it's going to fit in there. You could literally just use cardstock, paper, whatever on this part. It's just the only thing that I had was my Cricut vinyl, so that's what I grabbed. And these have little screws where they go in the sides, very teeny tiny screws. And I just went through and put both of them down in the wood. The next thing that I did is grab my Pent Art wax paste. I get this from Milton's daughter, and I'll leave her information in the comments section and down below in case you want to get any of her products. This is the bronze color, and I love it. I just kind of went around my little mirror to give it a little splash of color. I'm going to use the IOD Apothecary label stamps. These are my favorite stamps they've ever came out with. And also, I get these from Milton's daughter. So if you want to try out any of the products that you see me use, any of the high-end paints or these stamps, anything IOD or Pent Art, I'll leave all that down below so that she is easy to find. I couldn't think of what to put in here, and I wanted to label something, so I simply just put an A and a B. And then I got the idea to take a little bit of that wax paste again, the same bronze color, and I just kind of went around the inside portion of the label and almost just kind of muddied it up a little bit with that bronze color because I love to highlight with it, and I think anything you use it on, it takes it up a notch, and it's so beautiful. And that's all there is to the first DIY. I hope you like it as much as I do.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car. Drink.
Going to be using 3 of the octagon shaped ones. These are 10 inches each, and guys, they had so many different colors and shapes of these. I had a ball doing this video. I'm going to cover all 3 of these with some drop cloth. I got this drop cloth at Amazon. I'll leave the link down below in case you need some. It's not expensive at all, and I've literally had this actual drop cloth for probably 3 years, and I do projects often with it. So what I did was I just kind of did a rough cut of the shape of the octagon, leaving about at least an inch, maybe even 2 inches, just so it would be enough to wrap it around and glue it down. Now, when I first started doing this, I saw the little hanger on the back here, and the hanger is made from leather, and I thought, wow, I won't even have to put anything on the back, but I've eventually ended up cutting that off, and you'll see why. So like I said, I kind of just cut out a rough shape of the octagon, and I made 2 slits, one on each side of where that rope is going to hang. That way I could just pull it down and put the glue right there without disturbing my little hanger. But like I said, I didn't even end up using that in the end. So I'm going to show you with one of these how I glued it down. And this was definitely like a learning curve. The first one that I did not pull it tight enough. And so I went back and pulled it a little bit tighter because you don't want it looking, you know, baggy or I don't know the word, like loose, you know what I mean. So here I am going around, and when I got to one of the corners, what I would do is just kind of wrap it like a Christmas present. There's really no rhyme or reason to what I was doing. I was just getting that drop cloth on there. So here's a perfect example of how when I got to the corners, I just folded it in just like I was wrapping a present, and I would put a little bead of glue to hold the corners in. Just use as much glue as you need to. Nobody's going to be peeking on the back side of this, and there's no need to worry. So the back side doesn't particularly have to be beautiful. You know what I mean? But after you do one, you will definitely learn what you did wrong, and it will be easier to correct on the next one. But don't worry, this was very easy to do. Now I'm going to show you what this very first one looked like, and then I'm going to show you what I learned so that you don't have to make the same mistakes I did. My first one looked okay, but I could have gotten it tighter. So here's the second one, and I'm still thinking that I'm going to be using that hanger, so I cut it down the middle, stuck it down the middle, and I'm just going to kind of go a little bit quicker because I'm doing the same process. The only thing I'm doing is like when I do that end that I just did on the bottom, I'm going to immediately go up to the top and tighten it and pull it as taut as I can, and then start on that side as opposed to going, you know, like I'm going around a clock, like clockwise. And I found it, if I did it in this way, it's easier to keep it straight and keep it taut, and I definitely got a much better look on my second one. But I did everything else the exact same way. I'm going around, wrapping it just like a present. I just want to take a moment and welcome every single one of y'all. I am so glad that you're here. We have a lot of new viewers and new subscribers in our community, and I am so thankful for that. I would love it if you would consider subscribing and becoming a part of our family here on YouTube. We always have room for more, and we just chat and craft and have a good old time. And if you would, leave me a comment. Let me know which one of these is your favorite one. Even if you're not much for leaving a comment, I would love it if you would just leave a heart emoji. I love to go through every single one of my comments, and I love to meet my new subscribers. The very best way to support your favorite YouTuber is to hit the like button and subscribe and leave a comment, and that tells YouTube that that creator is really liked, and they push us out there for more people to watch our videos, which in turn is a big help for us. So as you can see, this is what that first one looked like, the one that is not tight enough. And as opposed to that second one, it was driving me crazy. But it was very easy just to go back and kind of pull it up and make it tighter. I'm not going to make you guys watch me put the third one together. I just wanted to show you how you kind of learn as you go along with this craft. Just have faith in yourself and give yourself some slack. You know what you're doing, and it's going to be beautiful. It was right here whenever I pulled the hanger up, and I thought, My goodness, for what we're doing, it's going to look better not to have that hanger showing. I mean, it's a nice hanger and all, it's leather, but it's going to look better not to see that in what we're doing. So I just went through all three and cut them off. I'm going to use the IOD Collage de Fleurs to put on the front of these. Now, if you don't have transfers, you can use like rice paper. You could even use stickers. There's so many options of things that you could put on these. So don't feel defeated if you don't have these. But if you do want some of these IOD transfers, I get mine from Lori over at www.miltonsdaughter.com, and I leave her information down below so that she's really easy to find. You also can find the paint that I use there and the pen art products that I use. I get so many of my products from Miss Lori. So this book has like some really bright red flowers in it. It's got these beautiful white ones. And it also has kind of like a peachy pink kind of color. Well, more peachy, I guess. But anyway, I chose these white ones because there's three and they match perfectly in my opinion. I also cut some of these vines out from that book. I wasn't sure if I was going to use them or not, but I went ahead and cut them. Now, if you've never used a transfer before, they are super easy and they are a great asset to have as a crafter because you can make any project gorgeous. All you do is just peel off that little white backing, lay it down on the project that you want it to go on, and they send a little plastic tool that you like rub across the top of it. Now, I like to kind of hold the edge of my transfer up because I feel that it makes it stick a lot faster, and they call it riding the wave, where whenever it gets to stick, you can literally just almost pull up the whole transfer without even having to rub it in some spots. These are super easy to use, and guys, they make a project beautiful every time. My leaves went over the edge. Now you can cut that off, or you can do like I do and just let it ride over the edge and make it look like it's, you know, going off the side. I like that look. But look how beautiful this is when you pull it up and how perfect. And then you're going to want to burnish your transfer, which just means to rub that plastic sheet on the top just to make sure it's got a really good stick. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the second one. You just figure out where you want your transfer to go, and you're going to use that stick. You're going to rub it all over and simply just pull that transfer up and burnish it again. Also, from one of my other IOD transfer books, I found this gorgeous butterfly, and I just thought he's got to go there. Now, I didn't want that little piece of the leaf on there because it really didn't match. So all you do is just cut around the butterfly, and then you do the exact same process. That's what I like about these transfers. You can just kind of cut out the pieces that you want to use, and vice versa. They go with each other even from different books, and they always look gorgeous. When I finally figured out where I wanted him to go, I got him placed there just like before, and then I made sure to go ahead and burnish him down also. The way that I have these pieces laid out is how I want them to go together. I just put a little bit of glue down toward the bottom because we don't want it to seep up. I laid them down so that they would be totally flat and kind of pushed them together. Now just imagine, you can, even use 4 of these octagons. You can use in different shapes. I mean, there is so many things that you can do with these. And when I first got these, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these, but I'll figure out something. And these are actually one of my favorite things that I've worked with in a long time to craft with. Now, I was afraid that glue alone wasn't going to be enough to hold it, so I'm just going to put a couple of Dollar Tree little popsicle sticks on the back just for a little added support. Like I said, I think the glue would be fine, but I just want to make sure. I sure wouldn't want one of these pieces to fall off the wall when one of my nosy southern relatives is over, and they'll be like, "Good Lord, Kathy, what'd you do?" Now, my favorite part is to use these super easy hangers that I get off of Amazon. I link them down below. And see, they have like the little nail thing in them. And all it takes is like one little hit of the hammer and they're in. And guys, I forgot to mention that the backs of these are made of foam. So I could just push these in, and as crooked as I got that hanger, it still hangs perfect every time. That's why I love those. And I hope you like this first one. This next DIY is probably my personal favorite from this whole video. I'm going to just use 2 of the octagon ones again. I'm going to cut the little leather hangers off of the back of these because we don't need them. And what I'm going to do is glue them together like I'm showing you here, just with my hot glue gun. And then I took them outside and I spray painted the tops and the sides with my Rust-Oleum 2 times in the color called moss green. You don't have to get this sprayed perfectly, just enough to basically get the tops and the sides green, and it can be any color of green you have. I always prefer to use the matte type of this Rust-Oleum, but this one's satin, but it still worked out perfect, and this is gorgeous. So I'm just going to use this garland that I got at Dollar General a while back ago and some of these floral pins. I'll link these down below if you need some of these. They are great to have, especially when you're doing wreaths and that type thing in different types of foam. It makes it so much easier. You basically just lay it down where you want it to go and use these kind of like a giant stapler. It just goes right down. And remember, I told you these are foam. So this is not going to come out of here, and it was so easy to put together. I'm just going to go all the way around the top and put down my different little floral pins. I think I ended up maybe using about 6 total across the top here. And you don't have to worry about this first part looking particularly pretty. Just get it on there. I kind of tried to drape mine where it would more so cover the sides than the top, but the way I put the pins, it kind of did both, so it was a win-win situation. And you see wherever I wrapped my garland around, I had a little bit of extra, so that's going to be a thicker part. We'll use that for the very front of this, and this is what I've got so far. I'm going to use a whole bunch of flowers that I get from Temu. I'm really big at buying my flowers at Temu. The only thing I don't like is some of them have leaves that make them look cheap, but you can pull those off or cut them off. Now these did have them, but I left them on because it's going to make this arrangement look fuller, and I definitely like that. I want y'all to notice, because this is made of foam, the popping noise that it makes when you stick the flowers in there. It's addictive, I promise you. Now what I did was just cut off, you see how far I cut to where there's only about an inch to stick down in the top of this. That's all we needed. And like I said, this is foam, so these stuck down perfectly. Now if you're worried that any of these pieces might pop back up, all you do is put just a little bit of hot glue on the end of it before you pop it down into your foam. And I promise you it won't go anywhere. These are some little roses that also came from Temu. They had like a plasticky type covering on them, but when you slid it off, there's where the wire was. And like I said, I only needed about an inch or 2 to pop down into this foam. And the way that I put my florals on, guys, is whatever I put on one side, I try to put the exact same flower, if I have it, on the opposite side in the same place. And what I mean by that is, if you will notice the purple flowers that I put down there toward the front, you can go directly to the opposite side and see that I put more purple flowers in just about the exact same spot. Now, if I don't have any more, I just try to make it look good with what I've got. I just kind of used several different flowers with this one. They're all Temu flowers. The first one that I put down was cream and a color of purple. And then I did the purple roses. And then I'm adding some cream colored, I think those maybe are hydrangeas. I'm not really sure. And then this boofy purple one here. I decided to put it toward the front because it's larger and I only had one. So I thought, well, let's kind of make that a focal point because there's only one. Now, these are also these little stems that I'm putting on now. They don't really have flowers on them. They're just kind of like little stems and leaves. And I'm going to kind of put those toward the front because I like the way that they have the little piece that sticks out. I just kind of try to match it up the best that I can. You can't always match it up perfectly with what you got, so you just do the best you can. And I promise you it turns out looking good every time. And I see so many people in the comments say, well, I'm just starting out. I can't make floral things as pretty as you can. Or, yes, you can. Because listen, guys, I promise you, I only started crafting, I think, maybe 4 years ago, like in my whole life. I was never interested in it when I was younger. Couldn't have cared less. But you guys know I'm a nurse, and I've had a couple back surgeries. And a few years ago, I had a spinal cord stimulator implanted in my spine. So it kind of slowed me down a little bit. And I'm not able to pick up like heavy patients anymore like I used to. I had to start working with children because they're smaller and easier to pick up. And that caused a lot of depression in me because I'm that kind of person that I care about my patients and I carry my work home. And when I see a sick baby, no matter how little or how big it was, but most of these were very sick, it really bothers me. You know, I worked with children on ventilators and children, you know, with trachs and things like that. And it'll break your heart. And so to find some kind of outlet, I started watching YouTube, and I was watching these people take stuff that's like a piece of cardboard and turning it into something gorgeous. They're like taking a Pinto and turning it into a Lamborghini. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like they're making their own home decor, like with what they want it to look like. And it almost became an addiction. I was just doing it all the time. And then I was getting better at it. And then I decided to start a channel to help other people. It was never to make money. It's to show other people you can do this. Like if I can do it, you can do it. Come on, we can do this thing together. And I just found along the way a whole community of people who back me up, and I back you guys up. And it's awesome, and we support each other. And I absolutely love it. But I also love nursing. It's just in my blood. My mom, my sister, we're all nurses. I just can't get away from it. So what I do is I still work PRN, which means I just work a couple of days a month and fill in. Now, what I'm going to do is just take these 2 hurricane vases from the Dollar Tree, and I've got some of those gems in there. I'm just going to put a little bit of it in the bottom. Now, these stems are not Temu because I remember these are from Walmart, and I noticed that little green sticker. It's a dead giveaway. Sorry about my shoulder being in the way, but I had to stick that right there. I liked the way that these kind of stuck up, and there's only a few of them, so I thought, well, this will bring a little bit of contrast. And let me tell you something else. When I'm doing my florals, if I'm doing, let's say, like the shade of purple, I like to do a couple of different shades of purple because it's like it pulls the eye in different directions all at once, and it just makes it look right. It really does. Now here, like I said, this is just kind of an array of kind of leftover flowers. We've got peaches, we've got beige, we got purple, you name it. But isn't it beautiful? Now, to my surprise, I looked down in the floor and found another thing of these little purple roses that I had dropped, and I was like, oh my goodness, that will be perfect right in the center right here, because that's kind of the most flowers that we have on here are those purple roses. So let's add them in the middle to make a pop. Guys, I was so addicted to the way whenever I would stick this down into the foam that it would make a popping noise. And these, I cut them a little bit longer, and that's why I put a little bit of hot glue on them, because we don't want them to go anywhere. I wasn't cutting these purple ones down enough, so I kept pulling them out and cutting them down a little bit more and just putting a little bit of glue to make sure they wouldn't go anywhere. That's pretty much all I did to this one, and I think it turned out gorgeous, and I hope that you enjoy it.
She thinks I'm a little lazy, I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired of shooting out.
Our last one is super quick and easy. I tried to make all these quick and easy because I didn't have a whole lot of time, but man, I had a million ideas on these. We're going to use these white colored ones, and they are the square ones. And then these are like little letter holders, they were called. And I got these from Dollar Tree, letter sorters, I'm sorry. These are Dollar Tree also. What I'm going to do is just take some from this same book that we used earlier, the Collage des Fleurs, and we're going to put one of each of these peach colored ones on the front. I just go through, pick out the ones I want, and cut them out. Remember, I told you guys these came in different shapes, and they also come in different colors. These were a white color. They had like bright colors. I'm just really excited about crafting with these. Now, we're going to put these transfers on just like we do the other ones, like we did the others. I'm sorry. You just pull that white backing off, lay them down where you want them. Then remember, we're going to use that little plastic tool that they send you, and we're just going to rub over the top of it. We're going to hold the edge of our little piece of plastic up, and that's going to help us to get the wave so that it will just come off that much quicker and easier. Then we're going to burnish it every time to make sure we've got a good stick. And look how beautiful this peachy flower is. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to take my second one. I'm going to lay it down and do the exact same thing and then burnish it. Now just keep in mind, you don't have to use these transfers that I'm using. You can use like a rice paper and decoupage something on there. You can use a napkin. I mean, there are so many options to what you can do. You can even do like a heat transfer. It's just all up to you and what your personal taste is. Then I'm going to grab this letter holder, and as you can see, it's got a taller side and a shorter side. We're going to be working on that taller side, and I'm pointing it out right here. See, that side is smaller, and then the bigger one is on the right. What we're going to do is we're going to use one of these small zip ties. I call them zip ties. I think the correct name for them is a cable tie, but y'all know in the South we have names for everything. So I'm just going to kind of pull this together a little bit because it's got that little end piece that sticks out. We don't want it to stick out too far. And so I just keep standing my little piece up, my little square piece that I put the transfer on to make sure that it's going to look right. Now I'm going to do this exact same thing to both of these letter sorters. I'm just going to take my cable tie and I'm going to pull it to where it's tight enough to where that little wire that sticks out at the end is almost even with that other part there. It's kind of hard to explain what I'm doing, but I mean, you can see what I'm doing here. And Lord have mercy, When I was trying to cut that off there, I ended up cutting the whole cable tie and just like having to start over again and put another one. That's me. I'm a little clumsy sometimes, but it's okay. I always get there. Now what we're going to do is lay this down face first. We're going to use a really good glue. I'm using this one from Dollar Tree. It's their Fix-All adhesive. It's basically super glue. And we are going to put some of this down at the very bottom of our little letter sorter. Now, mind you, this is on the tallest part, you know, not that short end. And I put a little bit kind of halfway up, around the hoop and around, because we want to make sure this is going to have a really good hang or stick. Good gracious. Yeah, that's it, Kathy, a really good hang. And so we're just going to place this down at the very bottom. Get it good and stuck on there. Make sure that it's not going anywhere. Don't worry if a little bit of glue seeps out. It's really not that big of a deal. And then I'm going to grab one of my little clips and just clip it. I did take a little baby wipe and just kind of wipe off any glue that did come out. But honestly, it really don't matter. Nobody's ever going to see that part. And then, like I said, I grabbed one of these clamps, and these are from Dollar Tree also. I chose these because they don't have such a very strong hold, because I didn't want to make a mark in the front of this. Because remember, it's made out of foam. If you squeeze it too tight with that little clip, I was afraid that it would make like an indentation, you know, down in the bottom. So we're going to do the exact same thing to the second one. We put our super glue on there, and on this one I put literally like a couple little dabs of hot glue, put it down at the bottom, and then put my little clip on there. Then I just set this off to the side for a couple of hours and let it dry. Now these are going to be bookends, guys. I have so many books laying around. I can put about 8 of my favorite books in here, and each one has its own slot. Now, I like that. Like I was saying, you can hold about 7 to 8 of your favorite books in here, and I purposely left a couple of them in the middle just open so that you could see how each one has its own slot. I'm going to use another one of these gold color ones, and you can, of course, again, you can use any color or style of these that you want. I'm going to take some of these transfers, and Brandy sent me these. She has these transfers and the decoupage paper that I showed you for sale on her website. And all I'm going to do is cut out the portion of this transfer that I want to use. I want to take a quick moment to welcome everybody here today. I am so glad that you came to spend a little time and chat and craft with me today. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to hit that little red subscribe button and become a part of our family. We always have room for more, and we would love to have you. And I would love to connect with you guys in the comments. Let me know which one of these is your favorite, and we're going to move right on. Now here I'm just using the transfer. If you have never used a transfer before, they're easy as brushing your hair, honey. And they make DIYs so beautiful. You lay it down exactly where you want it to go, and then they give you a special little tool. And all you're going to do is just rub across the transfer with the tool. Now, I like to kind of hold the edge of my transfer up as I rub, and I feel that that just helps it, you know, stick even better. But honestly, this is such a good quality transfer, you don't even have to rub that much. Like a lot of times, once you rub across it one time, it's on there. You can see I'm not doing much effort, and it comes up beautiful every time. I mean, look how gorgeous, and you saw that there wasn't much effort into that. You're going to grab your favorite candlestick. This one came from the thrift store, and as you can see, I have used it before. I have some of that bronzing wax on there, and we're just going to put this right on the bottom. Now, if you remember, this is for video purposes only that I'm using my hot glue gun. If you want this to stay, make sure you use some super glue or E6000, something of that nature. I'm just going to go around with my hot glue gun and place it right in the center. I find it easier to flip it over like this so I can find my center. And now we're going to just doctor it up a little bit with our beautiful bronze wax paste. I'm just going to add a little bit more and just give it a little bit more than what it had. I think that color looks so good with the black, the bronze and the black together. It looks so good. And guys, I wouldn't even call this a DIY. This is more than like a hack because there was honestly no effort to this. And look how beautiful. This is such a pretty riser that you can use for any occasion. Now, I grabbed my black rub and buff because I don't have black in the Pen Tart type. To me, the rub and buff and that Pen Tart wax paste that I use are the exact same thing. They have the same feel, the same smell, which I really like, by the way. It's kind of a lemony, orangey smell, if you ask me. And in my personal opinion, they're basically the same product, except for I think that the Pen Tart is just a little bit cheaper. But however, I used the black in my rub and buff since I did not have the Pen Tart in black. I'm just going around using that finger and highlighting anywhere where I want a little black pop. And I hope you like this one.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling and rain. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired of shooting out.
I'm going to use a piece of this wallpaper that is kind of like a celery color, and it appears to be like a dogwood or a cherry blossom type tree. And I'm going to use 2 of these sticks, and they're from Dollar Tree also. It just says craft stick on the back of them. Now, I measured these, and each of these is 18 inches long. I'm going to put the wallpaper all the way across my stick here on the front. And as you can tell, the wallpaper is, I think it's 16 long, and I have 18 inches here. So we're going to have to cut out the whole length of the wallpaper and then another 2 inches. But I'm going to show you what this looks like, and you can't really tell that you've pieced that together. We're just going to pull off our wallpaper, and this wallpaper comes off very easily. It has a nice stick. I've used their wallpaper for so many projects, and guys, it's a great deal for the price. Now here I'm just cutting off that other 2-inch square that goes on the end. I'm going to place it on there, and I want to show you up close what it looks like when you piece them together. And no one will ever know that you pieced that together. And I'm just going to continue along here. I'm going to do the exact same thing to the front of that other stick, and then we'll be right back. Now here I am after I got the other one put on, and I got it just a little bit larger than what was needed. And this stuff is really easy to use your little finger sander with and just sand off any excess that may be there. And at this point, this is what your little stick should look like. And the next step that we're going to do is grab one of these cork bulletin boards. Now, I found these last week at Dollar Tree, and I did a video on those. I'll leave it down below in case you want to go back and watch it. I made some gorgeous home decor with it. I'm just cutting off the back little hanger on it. I'm just going to go through and measure and make sure that I'm even on both sides. I usually just eyeball things, but I didn't want it to be lopsided or anything like that. We're going to take this cork board and we're going to glue it to our 2 sticks. There's several things you can use to glue. You can use this super glue, wood glue from the Dollar Tree, the Type Bond Quick and Thick, or you can use this Fix All adhesive. It's a super glue from the Dollar Tree, and that's what I ended up using. I used a little bit, like a strip of it on the bottom, and then above it I used my hot glue so that it would hold on to it right now. Of course, that super glue is what's going to be giving it its really good hold, but that hot glue will hold on to it until it freezes there. Then I'm going to grab these 2 wire pencil holders. Now I got these at Dollar Tree also, of course, and we're going to place these down on the bottom, one on each side of our little cork bulletin board. In case you haven't figured it out yet, this is going to be like a message board or something of that nature that you can use in your home, like a command center. You can stick any kind of important things there. My first thought was to put a screw through this to hold it still, but I realized that not everybody has like power tools and drills and that type thing, so I wanted to make it something that everybody can use. So I just put mine together with these zip ties. They're also called cable ties, and I get them from the Dollar Tree. I just wounded 2 of them around that middle portion and tied it tight enough to where it would not move. This is definitely probably the easiest way to get these to hold, because zip ties will hold anything, honey, I promise you. I love using mine all the time. I'm going to do that same thing to the other one, just as we did the first one, and get both of them to where they're going to be held down really nicely on our board. Then the next step is to simply embellish your board any way that you want to. This is a resin mold. I like to make up my molds ahead of time. That way when I'm busy or running behind trying to make a video, I already have my molds made up and I can just go through and pick and choose what I wanted. Now this is one of the IOD molds. I will leave the information on it down below. I get all of my IOD supplies from Miss Lori over at Milton's Daughter, and I leave her information down below so she's easy to find. I also get my favorite paint, the DIY paint. It's clay-based, and it's the most amazing paint I've ever used. I get that from her. I get a lot of my products from her. Now, this is also like a little resin button. Actually, one of my subscribers, and she's a dear friend of mine, her name is Paige, she sent me the little mold for these because she knows that I love buttons. I love to embellish everything with buttons. And it's really nice to have a little mold of these buttons, and you can just pop it on whenever you need it. I'm going to take some of this Pent Art wax paste. It's a color bronze. I love it and I use it all the time. I'm just going to go over my different molds here, and I like to use my finger to apply it. I'm just going to give everything a little highlight of this beautiful bronze color, and I'm just going to use my hot glue to glue these down exactly where I want them to go. I'm going to add some of these small little hooks. I took just a little bit of that wax paste in that bronze color and just kind of wiped over it with my finger so that I could highlight it. And these just screw in. I'm going to put one on each side so you can stick keys on them or hang anything that you may want there. I love these sawtooth hangers that I get off of Amazon, and I leave the link down below. This is what I'm going to use to put on the back to hang this, and I hope you like this one. The second DIY, I'm going to use this beautiful butterfly pattern. This is one of my favorites. I like the blue that's in it, and I think it's really pretty, and it's neutral enough to use it with anything. I have these 2 hoops. They're like little wooden hoops that came out at Dollar Tree about a year ago, and I haven't been able to find them in a little while, but that doesn't mean they're not there. And all I'm going to do is put one inside the other one, and honestly, it just holds still by itself, but just to reinforce it, I'm going to take 2 zip ties and put them across the top in almost like a crisscross fashion. I'd like to take just a moment to welcome each and every one of y'all to my channel. And I want to invite you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. All you have to do is hit that little red button and you're in the club. And guys, we always chat and craft and have a great time. Also, if you're enjoying this content so far, if you would, please hit the like button. That's the thumbs up button. And leave me a comment. Let me know which one of these is your favorite. I always love to meet my new subscribers in the comment section and have a good little chat with you. I would love to get to know you and help you on your crafting journey as you are helping me along with mine. And we'll just love and support each other. So as you can see here, I just went across the top of these with the zip tie, and then I'm going to go in the opposite direction with the other one, and that's just going to get these tight enough to where they're definitely not going to go anywhere. Then I'm just going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to snip off the little ends of these. I've got one of these little wood, I think you call them like little pallet boards from Dollar Tree. A lot of people use these as like coasters and that type thing, and it's perfectly square, so we're just going to go through, trace this out, and I'm going to cut out this shape to go on the top of it. I'm going to take the backing off of my wallpaper and just put this down over the top. And if you want to, you can flip your piece over and cut off the pieces that are exposed there where it can still be like little slats. But I'm just going to leave mine as is because I like that look. Then I'm going to grab this little pack of foam balls that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. It's the ones that have 3 pieces in there. And I'm just going to use something to kind of basically cut it right down in half. You know, I've got one of those little things that cuts the foam, and I cannot find it for the life of me. So I grabbed this little metal spatula type thing from the Dollar Tree to cut mine right down the middle. We're going to take our hoop and we're going to apply a really good amount of hot glue on both sections of the bottom here. And we're just going to hold and kind of push that little foam ball down into there. Now that hot glue is actually kind of going to melt into that foam, and it's going to create a really good solid hold. Then we're going to grab that little pallet that we just put the wallpaper on and put a really good amount of hot glue down the center of that, because that is what is going to go right on the top of our little ball. And just hold it there for a few moments with your hand on it, and that way it's going to be flat and on there really good. The next thing that I did was take 4 like little sprigs of lamb's ear, and of course these come from Walmart. I think Walmart has the prettiest lamb's ear, and it's at a great price. And I'm just going to go around this. I'm going to stick one little sprig in these 4 openings. And I'm just going to make it to where it's kind of coming out the side and almost, it's not really drooping over, but you know what I mean. It kind of looks like it's cascading out and down from that little area where the foam is. And don't worry, when this is finished and you get your florals in here, you're not even going to see that little white foam ball. Now I have 4 sprigs of hydrangeas, and I don't know where these came from, but this is the last step to this one. I'm just going to place 1 sprig in between each of my lamb's ear, and I'm just going to style mine by putting a battery operated candle in it and hanging it up with some Dollar Tree twine. It was so simple, easy, and quick, and I hope you like this one.
She thinks I'm a little lazy, I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired of shooting out.
I also wanted to show you that you don't have to hang this up. You can simply just set it down like this and use it as a candle holder, and it's just as beautiful. Moving on to DIY number 3. This is hard to even be called a DIY. But guys, I bought this little tiered tray back probably 3 years ago at Target. It was only $5, and they come out with these almost every season in their dollar spot. I think that's what it's called. It's up in the front of Target. Now, as you see, it's made really well. These are just like little plastic plates that go in there, and they're just plain Jane and white. But we're going to put some of this wallpaper on it and jazz it up and make it really pretty. Now, I chose this beautiful taupe color. I love this because it's so neutral. It goes with just about anything, and I love the pattern that's on it. I'm going to just place it down with the wallpaper face down, and I'm just going to trace around the area here that I need to cut out. And then I'm simply just going to cut it out and place it right down inside each tray. I'm going to use my handy dandy Temu scissors, and guys, I don't know if you've ever tried these scissors, but I love these. They're at Temu they're only like $1 or $2 literally, and I have about 4 pair of them. They're small and they make cutting so easy. They are really, really worth the purchase, I promise you that. So all I'm going to do is cut it out, and it ended up being just a tad bigger, but that's not a problem at all. It's actually good for us. We're going to peel the wallpaper apart, and we're going to lay it down. I'm going to lay down the middle portion first, or actually just kind of press down the middle first. It's all going to lay down together. But I'm going to press down in the middle so we get a good stick, and use my fingernail to kind of go around all the outside of it and push that into the area where it needs to go. You can also just push your finger in the indentation there like I'm doing and just kind of run your finger around it. I kind of do both. That way I make sure that I have a really good stick, number one, and number two, I can see exactly where that line is so I know where to cut to get that excess off. And even if you don't want to cut the excess off, it still looks good as is. I'm going to use this little pen ordeal. I got this off of Amazon. I think there was like 10 of them in a pack, and I really like it for projects like this. It's much smaller than an X-Acto knife, and I feel like it's sharper and it cuts better. It's so easy to use because it's just like using a pencil. I just went around and very slowly and carefully, I just traced that little line all the way around. And I just went back and peeled off all of my pieces, and it was so easy. I just took my time and went carefully. I promise you can do this. And if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. You can't tell. It still looks good. I hope you like it. Our last DIY of the day is one of my favorites. We're going to use this beautiful bird paper. And I noticed from the comments in the last video I did that this was everybody's favorite of all these wallpapers. We're going to use this little birdhouse that is, of course, from Dollar Tree. I was trying to keep everything Dollar Tree that I could. And we're just going to place the wallpaper all around the front here. On this one, I just went through and I laid my birdhouse down so that I could copy those little zigzags that's on the sides and on the front, which is like a little fence area. And if you don't get this perfect, don't worry. I didn't either, and I'm going to show you a little remedy for that here in just a second. But it's not hard at all. You just get your little pattern there and place it on. But let me show you about the front here. Now the front was a little bit more challenging to trace just because that top part there is so tall. It was hard to get your pen in there to trace it. So in some spots I was just kind of doing the best I could and getting it as close as I could. And you'll see as I laid my piece of wallpaper up beside it, I thought, oh my goodness, I missed a little sliver up in the top that I didn't get right. And I noticed that it was a bright part of the bird, like a blue part. So all I did was just find literally a tiny little scrap that was the exact same color. And I'm showing you right here where my little area was that I didn't get right. Like I was saying, it was hard to trace that little area right there. So what I did to remedy that was just take that little bright blue square that you see up above my right hand, and I'm going to place that underneath where I'm going to put this wallpaper. I haven't pulled the backing off of this wallpaper yet on the front. I was just laying it up there so I could test it out to see what it was going to look like. So I put that little tiny square down first. You see it there, it's so tiny. And then I'm going to peel the backing off of this other piece and place it right over it and just kind of smoosh them down together. And when I did that, you can't tell that there's any difference whatsoever. I did take my little finger sander and go over the tops to make sure that if I didn't get any of them perfect, that it would be very easy to take it off. And then I just used my X-Acto knife to pull it off there. I've got a couple different colors of blue from my DIY paint, and I chose this one called Blue Iris because I felt like it matched my bird really nicely. I'm going to use this tiny detail brush. I got these off of Amazon. They came in like a pack of 8 or 10, and I am so glad I got these things because they make small projects like this little area here that I'm trying to paint like a breeze to paint. So I just went over all the little tops, the little jaggedy parts of that, what looks like a little fence, and I painted it blue, and then I painted the rest of my birdhouse blue. These detail brushes are in my Amazon store in case you want some, and I'll leave all of my links down below that's in this video so it's easy to find. I dried everything off, and then I grabbed another one of my little resin molds that I told you guys that I love to have on hand. This one is from IOD also, and I'm just going to go over it with that blue iris that's left in my paintbrush. I'm not trying to get a full-on coverage. I'm just trying to get it where it's like 90% covered because we're going to use some of that beautiful antique paste. After I got it painted, I applied it to the very front over where that star is to cover up the star, and I think it makes it look a lot classier. And I've said this a million times. To me personally, these pen tart, wax paste, and the antique paste that you guys see me use so often, to me, they're the exact same thing as the rub and buff. I have the same, it's got like the same consistency, the same coverage. It's just cheaper than the rub and buff, and I personally like it better. I'm going to use the silver color to bring out all those sparkly silvers and metallics that's in the bird on the wallpaper. And I just kind of go around and shade it anywhere where I want a little bit of shade and just a little bit of a difference in the color. I'm going to pay special attention to that little mold that I just put on the front, and I'm going to add a lot of the silver on it. That's why I told you that I just kind of halfway painted it. I didn't want necessarily to get a full coverage because I'm going to cover areas of it up anyways. And to me, when you have a couple of different colors popping through something, it just makes it look, I don't know, it's just like it's cohesive or it looks good to me. I also went along the little parts of the jaggedies here and I added it there also. And this is all according to your personal preference. If you like a lot of this wax, you put a lot. If you like a little, put a little. Or you may not like it at all. But I was going to show you guys, I have so many different colors. I have this darker brown color. It's called Umbra, I think is how you pronounce it. I also have like a metallic-y white color. I have this beautiful red color and then a gold. And I hope you like this one because it's done. Grab this gold charger. I believe these came out around Christmas, but I still see them in the stores all the time. I like the beaded detail around it, and I loved this one with this scalloped edge. And at first I was going to keep this one gold, and that's why I chose it over the silver. Of course, you can use any of these chargers you want, but I decided to take this outside and give it a good coat of my Rust-Oleum 2 times in a matte white color. And while that's drying, I came back inside and I had purchased a couple of these woven baskets the last time I went to the Dollar Tree in Dayton. I guess these are the newest ones that they've came out with. These seem to be a little bit smaller around than the others, but they are taller. And I also noticed that these are a little bit tougher to cut. The other ones, you could just cut them like butter. But the only part that I had an issue cutting was those black rings around the top. The woven part is the easiest thing in the world to cut. You can cut it with some simple scissors, but it may take a minute to get through that black area. However, all I'm doing is just cutting this basket right in half, and you can make a set of these, by the way. I only made one because I didn't have the supplies I needed to make two, or I would have. Now what I did was I took 3 of the tumbling tower blocks, and you can use this Fix-All adhesive or a E6000 or something of that nature. I am only using this hot glue gun for video purposes. If you want this to stick for any length of time, I wouldn't use it. And I'm just going to need something with a little bit more oomph to it so that it will stick really good to our charger. And I'm just placing a thin line of glue down the side, and I'm holding it here. And you can see how I have these 3 tumbling tower blocks on. I'm going to use some of this beautiful decoupage paper that my friend Brandy from the DIY Struggle has created. I'll leave the information for her website down below, by the way, and for her channel, so you can go check her out if you haven't checked her out before. I'm just going to use my favorite personal method for decoupaging just about anything, and that's just a good old glue stick. That way, if I ever want to take this off there, I can peel it right back up, and it doesn't have a permanent stick, but it has well enough of a stick that it's not going anywhere, guys. All you do is I just kind of like put it down in half of mine, and I went ahead and started from the center and pressed my way out, and then I'm going to go all around the other half of my plate here. You'll notice that I didn't have enough of the decoupage paper to cover 2 plates. If I would have, this is what I was talking about. I was going to make a set of these, but for now, I'm only going to be able to show you one, but you can get the idea and make yourself a set if you do like this DIY. I went around and just used my fingers to smooth out any wrinkles. The only area that I'm trying to cover is that middle circle, and I wish I would have had enough of the decoupage paper to cover the whole area, but I kind of had to gimp it. My plan is to put my basket down at the bottom, so I don't necessarily need it to cover the whole area, but I sure would have liked it to cover that whole inner area. I'll show you how to put your rice papers and such together here to where you can just kind of cover it and kind of camouflage it if you ever need to. You'll notice that the little area up above is that brown and white pattern, so I pulled off that little tiny bit of the orange flower so that I have this small piece of like leftover brown and white, and I'm going to place one there on the left and one on the right. And that literally just gave me enough room to where when I lay my basket down or glue it down, it's going to cover that up. And that's basically what I needed. I went around with my little finger sander and it was very easy. It took one little swoop of that finger sander to get the sides to come off. And I'm just going to stick some glue on the back of those tumbling tower blocks like I had before, and we're going to glue that down. That's going to also give it kind of a 3D effect where it's going to be coming out from the charger a little bit, which is going to be nice. Here I'm using my bronze colored wax paste from Pentart. I get this from my friend Lori over at Milton's Daughter, and I leave her information down below, and I leave it in the comment sections too. That way, in case you want to buy any of the DIY paint that you see me use, the Pentart products, the IOD products, all of those beautiful things that Miss Lori sells, a lot of the supplies that I use comes from her at Milton's Daughter. And you see I just am putting a little bit of that wax paste on my finger, and I'm just going around and just touching anywhere where I want some of this beautiful bronze to kind of stick out and make a little bit of a statement. I really think that that bronze wax paste looks so good with this certain decoupage paper. It just brings it out and it's so pretty. And the last step that I'm going to do is just go around the outer rim and put a little bit of that bronzy color there. And you see what I mean when I said that a set of these would be so beautiful. You can decorate them with flowers or a battery-operated candle. And I hope you like this one.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold.
We're going to take 2 more of the large size boxes, and we are going to glue these together just like we did the first ones, except for this time I used wood glue. I will be using this one outside, and I want to make sure that we get a good strong hold here. So I'm using my Type Bond Quick and Thick, and I just kind of rubbed it in. It doesn't take much of this stuff at all to get a good strong hold. And then I just used a little bit of hot glue, making sure that I don't let the two touch because it will cancel each other out and they won't even work. The next thing that I'm going to do is grab one of these signs, and this one came out around Valentine's, but you know these come out all the time, and there's so many options. You don't have to use this exact sign. You can use this piece of wood that's also from Dollar Tree, any type of wood or MDF, just whatever you choose to use, you do you on this one. I took the little hanger off the top because we're not going to need that. And I'm just using the ivory color Waverly chalk paint. I don't want it to be a perfect color. I just kind of want to slap it on here. This is just going to be a background color, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment. So it really doesn't matter how messy as long as you just get that color on there. And I prefer to do white or an ivory color like this when I'm using paint as a background. The next thing that I'm going to do is grab some drop cloth. I love to use drop cloth. I've had this piece of drop cloth for probably 3 years. I love the way that you can make just a small cut in it and rip it, and it just rips perfectly every time. But if you don't have drop cloth, don't worry. You can use any type of fabric. We're going to do a heat transfer. I was going to use this craft fabric that's kind of like a white burlap, but I was afraid that it wouldn't work. So what we're going to do is flip our sign over, and we're just going to use some hot glue, and we're going to glue our drop cloth down to it. Now this doesn't have to be perfect by any means. You just do it as though you're wrapping a present, or just get it on there the best way you can. Just try to make it a good, tight hold. As long as the front of it looks pretty like this, you're all good. I got my heat transfer from Temu, and the directions on the back were crazy. They made absolutely no sense, so I'm just kind of guessing with what I'm doing here. And I'm just kind of using what I've used in the past, and we're going to work with that. So what you do is you lay your piece down, and I love this. I only paid like $1.85, I think, for this piece, and it's a good size. I believe it originally is supposed to go on a shirt, but I'm going to put it on my drop cloth, and I like it that way. Now, what I did was just kind of end up using my little Cricut heat press at around 385 to 400, because at first I had it on 385 and it just wasn't enough. And this thing still didn't turn out perfect, but hey, number one is it came from Temu and the directions were not good, like I said. So I was still satisfied for the way that it came out, and I'm glad I was able to save my purchase. And as long as I'm happy with it, that's all that matters. I had to keep pulling it up because some of it would stick and some of it wasn't. And I just did the best I could, but you'll see how it ended up. When I finally got it done and pulled that top piece of plastic off, a little bit of the words were kind of like distorted looking, but that's okay because I just used a Sharpie and just kind of fixed them, and I'm happy with the way it looks. I grabbed this folk art home decor wood tent, and the color is called walnut. I really like this one because this one is a dark color, and you know, I use my Waverly when I want a lighter color, but I really like this color too for certain projects. So all I'm going to do is, just like I did with my Waverly wax, I just go over my whole piece and then I just kind of even it out with my baby wipe. This color turns out beautiful every time also. So now I'm going to take my little wood boxes that are already attached together, and I just use the hot glue for video purposes, but I highly suggest, if you want this to hang on for a long time, to either use E6000 or a good wood glue. Now mine is actually going to go outside, so after I put the hot glue on it, I'm going to take some screws and put them through there to make sure that it holds on really well, because I'm going to have plants in this. After I got my pieces glued on, I set a few pieces of wood on the top just to give it some weight so that it would set up really well. And I have this resin mold that looks like a sunflower to me. I like to have molds I like to make them up ahead of time. That way when I'm in the middle of a project and I just want to grab one really quick, I have that option. And I'm going to take the IOD paint in the color called Carnival Red. I love this color because when it dries, it's like a muted red and it's so pretty. And I'm just going to kind of nonchalantly paint this. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. I don't want to achieve a full coverage here. I want some of that white color in the background to kind of peek out. So I'm just kind of doing a messy coat, I guess you would say. Then I'm going to take that beautiful bronze wax paste that I love so much, and I like to apply this with my finger. I'm just going to go all the way around my flower and just kind of rub it in, and I'm going to give it the chance to get in some of those little nooks and crannies where that white is showing, but then again, I still want some of that white to shine through also. Then I'm going to take my Type Bond Quick and Thick. I'm going to put a little glob of that kind of in the middle, and then I'm also going to take some hot glue and put it on the outer skirts of the flower here and place that right in the center of my beautiful little planter. And to finish it off, I'm going to use this hanger that I absolutely love. I get these off of Amazon, and I'll leave them linked down below and in the comments. They're the easiest hanger to put on any project, and all you have to do is just barely tap it in. You can even put it on crooked and your picture is still going to hold straight. That's my kind of hanger. With DIY number 3, we're going to take 2 of the large size and we are going to pop the back out of one of them. And this is very easy to do. I just held it and used my thumbs to pop the back out. Make sure that you save that back piece because you can use it just as a wood panel. What we're going to do is set the one that I popped the back out of on top of the other. And I'm simply going to just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it down. If any of your glue kind of runs out the side, just use your fingers to kind of wipe it away. Then I'm going to take the DIY color called beadboard. It is my favorite off-white color. It's not such a stark white color. It's more of an off-white, but it's still bright enough to be gorgeous. And I'm just going to put a coat all over the front and the sides of my box. I set my box to the side and I'm going to use this beautiful decoupage paper that my friend Brandy from the DIY Struggle, she creates this herself and she sells it on her website. I'll leave that down in the comment section and I also leave it in the description box below in case you want to go get some. It's very inexpensive. I just pick which piece that I want. I'm going to put a little bit of water in just like a small little cup and I'm going to use the fine end of a small paintbrush and go around the section where I want to tear away. I don't need much of this tissue paper and you just get it wet with the end of your paintbrush and it literally just tears away. I always prefer the teared look instead of like cutting it with scissors because to me it just looks more natural and it always looks better that way. I just lay it down where I'm going to place it at and I'm going to use my favorite method to decoupage just about anything down, and that is an Elmer's glue stick. For this particular project, I am going to use the type that's washable, but I do have this permanent one. Anytime that I want to decoupage something and I want it to be more permanent, I use that one. But this purple one is sufficient for this. You just place it down all over the surface where you want your tissue paper or your decoupage paper to go, and you lay it down. I start off in the middle and just smooth it out with my fingers. And then I'm going to grab my little hand sander. I love this thing. And I'm just going to go all the way around and get the excess off. And it's going to tear off very easily. This is by far the easiest way that I have ever found to decoupage anything. We're going to put some feet on this, and you can use these little logs from the Dollar Tree. There's so many options. You can use the Jenga blocks. I'm going to use these little Christmas trees that I get around the Christmas season, and I always get a bunch of them just for this reason, so that I can use them for little feet in all of my projects. I'm just going to use the hot glue for this just like before, but if you want a good permanent hold, just make sure you use a wood glue. And I'm going to place 4, one on each corner. And I didn't show it in the video, but I went back and painted those feet white also. I'm going to take my ink pad in this beautiful, I think it's called Stone Gray is the color, and it's by Archival Ink. It is a permanent ink pad, and I get these off of Amazon. I'll leave the link down below in case you want some. And I just like to go around and kind of highlight my project because it makes it so beautiful. And that's literally all I had to do to this project and then style it. I hope you like this one as much as I do. And it's kind of more of a hack too. We're going to use this beautiful bright shiny one. I love to use these as frames, guys. They're so pretty and the scalloped edge makes it perfect. This is just literally a picture of my grandson, my oldest grandson, that I printed off on just regular old printer paper. It's black and white, as you can see. And we are going to place this right in the center of this and kind of make it like a little frame. This picture hangs up on the wall. I can't talk this evening, I'm so sorry. This hangs up on the wall in my craft room, and it has for years, but it's time to spruce it up a little. Now normally I would use my regular glue stick. However, I want this to be permanent, so I'm going to use this permanent bond glue stick. These are in my Amazon store in case you want some of these. They're only like $3.87 for 4 of them. And it's the same exact thing as that other glue stick, except for it's permanent. And I'm just going to, and it doesn't turn purple. Let me throw that in there. It's clear all the time. So we just put it down like we did the other one. Start from the center and go all the way around to get a really good stick there. Now I could do this 2 ways. I can use a hanger and hang this up. However, I'm just going to use like one of those little frame, I don't know what you call them. It's the little things that you can set a picture up in. I've just totally lost my words this evening. I'm really tired. I'm so sorry. That's why I'm just kind of like and stuttering through this. But I'm using my black rub and buff to go around to bring out all those beautiful little beads and those scalloped edges. And then I'm going to go around. I don't want like a full-on black coverage inside around his little head. I kind of want that to look like, almost like a more rustic look like it has been, you know, kind of faded over time. So I'm not looking for like an opaque black, but just a little bit lighter, if that makes any sense. And I hope you like this one. I hope that you guys enjoyed some of my most favorite Dollar Tree DIYs of the year. It's nice to take a little stroll down memory lane whenever we're beginning a new year so that we can look back on the last one and see some of the stuff that we really did enjoy doing. I want to thank each and every one of y'all from the bottom of my heart. I wouldn't be here doing these DIYs and something that I absolutely enjoy doing if it weren't for you. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a big thumbs up if you did enjoy this video. Turn on your notification bell so it'll let you know every time I put out a video. But right now, since it's still winter time, we're doing our videos every Monday and Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard. And other than that, guys, I'll see you back here next time, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Hey, if you're on a phone or a tablet, you can click on my face right here and it will subscribe you to my channel. I would love for you to do that. Also, if you did enjoy this video, I have another one right here that you can click on and it'll take you there as soon as this one's finished in a second. God bless you and your families, and I'll see you soon.